We welcome you to the Calaveras County Candidates Forum, focusing on the two competitive races on the June 7th primary ballot. Tonight we'll hear from the two candidates for Calaveras County Board of Supervisors District 3. The seat is currently held by Marita Callaway, who is retiring. There are two candidates running, Martin Hubbardy and Lisa Mutertes. Later on, we'll hear from the two candidates for Calaveras County Tax Collector Treasurer as well. That seat is currently held by Barbara Sullivan, who is not seeking re-election. How the forum will work is that each candidate will be allowed to make opening statements, followed by questions from both myself and some that were submitted by community members. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer. I'll give each of the candidates a cue when their time is up, and at the end, there will be some time for closing comments as well. Also, if one candidate directly attacks the other one, they will have the option of taking 20 seconds to respond if they so choose. So we welcome in the candidates now for the Calaveras County District 3 race. We'll start first with Martin Hubbardy with opening statements.
Thank you, BJ. It's great to see you again. It's great to be back here. I'd like to start by talking about the Hubbardys. The Hubbardys came to Calaveras County for the gold rush, and they've been leaders in the county ever since. My family descended from the first son of the first Hubbardy that came, and we homesteaded on Fourth Crossing. And I've come to Calaveras my entire life. I had a magical childhood, going to the ranch on the weekends, and then spending summers up at my grandmother's cabin on Lake Alpine. Unfortunately, both the Hubbardy Ranch and the cabin were sold in the 90s, and I felt I needed a foothold still in Calaveras, and almost 20 years ago I bought the Utica Powerhouse, and it was pretty much of a ruin, and I reconstructed it as a home, and that's where I sort of have always desired to come back to Calaveras. And in 2017 I came back and have been living there full time since then. And that's when Lisa Bolton was going back to England and was giving up the Visitors Bureau. And I thought, you know what, that's a position that I can really take a hold of. It's something that I've done my entire life with my family. My family would always bring friends that came from back east or Europe, that we would travel to the Hubbardy Ranch and then up Highway 4 to the caverns and the big trees and then to the cabin. And it's been a joy working at the Visitors Bureau and bringing in commerce to the county and working with the chamber, which was sort of a natural progression of that. I also run the Angels Museum because Angels Camp wasn't going to be able to open the museum after COVID, and we made a partnership, and actually it was quite a successful partnership. I saved the city approximately $200,000 in operating costs out of their budget and $30,000 out of my budget, which has been sort of a win-win, and we get to really have our visitors for hours as opposed to minutes now at the Visitors Bureau. The office of supervisor seems like a natural progression for me. It feels like a calling, not necessarily a career choice. I think Marita's done an amazing job, and I would like to continue her legacy onwards. I was a very dear friend of Barton Steveno's, and I love working with the Calaveras Wine Grape Alliance and continuing the wine tradition in Murphy's. I look forward to working in Arnold, and I think fixing plan development is probably number one on my list. I've been lucky enough to be supported by the largest labor force in Calaveras, SEIU Local 1021, and I have backing from the largest landowner, SPI, Sierra Pacific Industries. I look forward to working with everybody in Calaveras in the district, and I think the most important thing that you can do is listen and look at all the issues and come up with solutions from a helicopter point of view, and that's it.
All right, thank you. And we'll now move over to the other candidate for District 3, Lisa Mutertes.
Hi, and thank you for having us today. I am Lisa Mutertes. I've lived in Calaveras County District 3 for 39 years. I do have 4 generations of family living in District 3, which I think is a great benefit to a position of supervisor. I have my parents, myself, my children, and my grandchildren. So I understand the needs representing from toddler age all the way through high school. Our adults that are trying to support their families, find work and housing, and also our elders. And there's a lot of services that we're lacking. So I want to be able to be the person that says, okay, I understand we don't have the preschools. I get that. We need to be working on these programs for our kids, our in-home health services for our elders. Those types of things need to be looked at a little bit better. And I want to be able to process that. I have served on the Planning Commission from 2014 to 18. Our general plan at that time was 21 years old, and we spent 2 years rewriting that plan, word for word, line by line, getting our county up to par. I learned so much about our county doing that general plan, from the zoning, land use, projects that can come to the county, how they can get here, water, fire. It went through every critical component that our county goes through. The general plan is like a Bible for the county. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to go from start to finish understanding our county. I also served legislatively as a state director for the California Association of Realtors. And by doing so, I was able to, there was 1,100 realtors. We would gather and protect property rights. And so we would get together and go through that process. We would meet with our legislators. So I understand the importance with meeting with our legislators and how we can promote and move ourselves forward in that respect. Ran a lot of meetings. I chaired land use. I was an executive committee member. I was a regional chair that was responsible for 7 counties. I have a lot of background with community service. I have over 30 years volunteering in the community of District 3 in Calaveras County. During Butte Fire, I shut my office down for 6 weeks and went to the crisis center and did nothing but try to help people get housing. We took our charity program through our Realtors Association and raised over $550,000 to help people get their homes back in order. It was a very traumatizing experience for our county, but I was there. And I also implemented and started a parade in Arnold. It's the White Pines Parade of Lights. COVID hit and we missed 1 year. The second year that we were in COVID, we wanted to find a way, because we were almost 2 years into it, to get people back outside. So instead of having people gather, we did a light show, and it was absolutely fabulous. And the sponsors in the community were amazing. So on that note, I will wrap up.
Very good. Thank you as well. How we're going to do the questions is it'll go back and forth so that no one is answering first or second all the time. Since Martin Hubbardy started the introduction portion, we'll start this segment with Lisa Mutertes. And it's a big decision to run for public office. What was it that kind of flipped the switch and made you take the plunge and decide that you wanted to run for District 3 Supervisor? Was it a specific 1 or 2 issues or something else?
It wasn't necessarily an issue. It was more of, this is my home, this is my community. I can see services that are lacking that I wanted to be a part of and taking us forward. I could see that our young children were needing services that weren't being provided. My whole family lives in District 3, all 3 of my kids, all 5 of my grandkids. So for me, it was a decision of, what can I do to better our home? They all live there. My parents live there, and I wanted to be there to take us forward. I don't want to look back anymore. I want to be the person that says we're moving in a forward direction, and let's go there. I want the future of my children, grandchildren, our elders, everybody to have a great place to live, because, I feel Calaveras County is great. There is no better place for me, but I think we can always do better. So.
And Martin Hubbardy, same question for you. What was it that spurred you to run?
I think it was more, as I said earlier, I think it was more of a calling than a career choice. I will say that I believe it's 7 positions that are going uncontested this term, and I just don't think that's right. I think that honestly, this is the best way forward, is to have the campaign and the competition and to understand what's best for the county. What made me really decide, I think it just is a natural progression of the work that I've been doing with the Visitors Bureau and with the Chamber and bringing commerce and working with the county in the last 3 years. It seemed like this is the way forward, in that I can really help bring all of the solutions that I've had in my past, in my professional career. I've had a very successful film career. I've had a very successful career working overseas, both in commerce as well as in philanthropy. And that's what I'd like to bring to the county. I'd like to represent our district. I always say you lead with a steel hand and a velvet glove. And ultimately, I want to be able to listen to our constituents and make sure that we're making the best decisions and putting the money behind the agencies and the organizations that really need it, and see our community grow.
Well, staying with Martin Hubbardy on the next question, it's specifically related to fire safety and resiliency. We saw some devastation during the 2015 Butte fire. There has also been many similar communities impacted in the past couple of years in other parts of the state. What do you feel are the best strategies for Calaveras County to try to prevent and prepare for future wildfires?
Well, I just read an article just like 10 minutes before I came in on how Santa Fe in New Mexico, with the fires that are going on there, how they're doing fire drills. And I actually would like to see fire drills in our area so that people know how to get out, and we have sort of a structured. I lived in a house when I went to boarding school in England, and we did fire drills every week, and we thought they were ridiculous, but we had a fire drill, or what we thought was a fire drill, and we got everybody out of that house. There were 75 kids that were in that house. In 2.5 minutes, in 5 minutes, that house was gone. I think you can't be prepared enough. I was very lucky to go on the 2Care tour. That was, I think it was, believe it was last October, to see all of the work that's been done to date, which is incredibly impressive. I think that we can't be more prepared you can never be prepared enough. I do believe in preventative fires. And I know I've been at the CBTA and working with them and talking about the prescriptive burns. I think they're incredibly important. I think the risk of not doing them is far greater than the risk of doing them. I mean, unfortunately, with the weather that we've been given, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do anything this year, which is scary. Ultimately, working with Chief Johnson, up in the Upper Ebbets Pass, I think getting our constituents prepared with the right evacuation materials, the red tags that go on the door. People are working hard to make the programs so that we are prepared. I just think that we need to continue as best we can.
Lisa Muterdes, same question, best strategies for fire protection.
So I think that we're already on a really good path. We are a wildfire safe community up in the Arnold area. Ebbets Pass Fire has definitely promoted the safe wildfire. We do inspections through all of our homeowners associations on everybody's property. Every single year, we are certifying that those lots are cleaned up and prepped. It's not something that all communities do. One of the things that is a major component is that our fire department in the Ebbets Pass district from Forest Meadows up is bonded. Each homeowner is paying about $350 a year. And that fire bond has promoted our fire department into a fully staffed fire department with 3 different stations. We have fire trucks. We have the ambulances, we have the ladder truck. We are rated as an ISO 2 rating in that upper area. Down in the lower area, I think it's important that we address this issue with Murphy's and below and getting them bonded so that we can upgrade that fire department. They've tried several times, and I don't think people understand the importance of bonding that fire department and the equipment and the resources that are added. Obviously, if there's a wildland fire, it's a CAL fire that we're fighting, and that our fire departments are doing strictly structure protection. But the more funded we are, the better prepared we are. I think it's going to be better for all of us. And when I talk about that bond for the upper corridor, it provides so much as far as even homeowners insurance. Our ratings on our homeowners insurance is easier to get, and it's cheaper than if you're down the hill. And we've had our fire departments work with our water companies. We have more fire hydrants that are now put into our areas, and that's key also. I know that after the Butte fire, there was the Calaveras Office of Emergency Services that was set up that we never had before, so we have preparation. And I think that we're all prepared to evacuate, and we've done this a few times, so we know how to get off this hill. We've got some roads we need to improve in the evacuation zones, but I think we're doing a good job.
And we'll stay with Lisa Muterdes for this next question as well, and it focuses on businesses and the economy. How do you feel the economy is faring right now in Calaveras County, and are there things that the county could do to help businesses?
I think we're doing pretty good. We came out of COVID and it was hard. It was hard through COVID for many of our businesses. I'm a small business owner, so I understand the small business aspect, what's impacting our businesses and what we can do better. Obviously, our tourism is a major component for our survival for our businesses. And our summer and our winter months are our big months. We slow down in our spring and our fall. I would love to find ways that we can better support our local businesses during those off-season times, because those are the times that they struggle the most. I know that, being a business owner in a small community, you depend on your locals heavily. And so we have to do a better job of promoting that we are dependent on our locals. We need those services. A lot of people don't realize if we didn't have these small businesses in our community, we wouldn't have any services. So when it comes to our businesses, the one thing that is the hardest hit is employment, finding employees, finding housing for those employees, and we have to do a better job of providing the affordable housing. I'm not going to go into that right now because I think hopefully that'll be a question later, but that is one of the biggest challenges for our employers is getting employees and having housing for them. So that's going to be the most critical component that we need to seriously work on. And coming from the real estate industry, I have a lot of ideas for us to promote that.
And over to Martin Hubbardy, the question about how businesses are faring and if anything can be done from the county perspective to help them.
Yes, I think the businesses are doing very well now. Obviously, during COVID, it was very touch and go. And, running the Visitors Bureau during COVID was a very difficult thing to do. We had locals who were very upset that we were doing anything. But listen, when we could be open, we needed to bring people in to be servicing our local businesses. And we spent a lot of time trying to instruct our visitors also how to treat our businesses, as well as to ask them to take their trash home with them. The pandemic, we got found by a lot of people who would never have discovered us before because of the pandemic, and those people are coming back. That's what we see with the Visitors Bureau. We've got a lot of local visitors. 49% of the people that look at our website are actually coming from Sacramento. Obviously, we get a lot of Bay Area traffic. We really need to focus on tourist infrastructure. And in working with the county, I would love to be able to see better parking, better restrooms, and more importantly, better signage. We need better signage. We need to be able to have wayfaring signs to direct our visitors. I believe it's the travel industry is very much like the film industry. If you go see a good movie, the best marketing out there is you're going to tell your friends to go see it. And it's the same with visiting. I mean, you have a great time in a place and it's very easy and you really enjoyed yourself, you're going to go tell people to go visit. And we depend on it. Tourism is our number one industry in the county, and we need to support that. For every dollar that the Visitors Bureau spends, we bring in 54 into the county, and that's hugely important. So from a county perspective, I will always be looking towards the tourism and trying. Listen, since 1857, it has been a tourist destination since the Discovery Tree was cut down and used as a dance floor.
We'll stay with Martin Hubbardy for this next question. This part of the state sometimes has what some people refer to as a brain drain, where young people go to high school here, they go to college, they start families in other parts of the state and work in other parts of the state. What do you think can be done to keep younger residents and younger families in Calaveras County?
Wow, I actually, when you asked this question, the first thing that went into my mind was Sheriff Rick talking about bringing deputies, getting new deputies, and how he hires people and he has to send them through training, and then the minute they've done their service, they go get a higher paying job down in the valley. It's a tough question. I think ultimately we need child services. We need child care centers, and we need them desperately for young families to stay in our area. We need to find people who want to live in our area, and there are people who are willing to sacrifice a larger wage to actually live in a magical place like Calaveras County. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. So this part of the state sometimes has kind of what some people refer to as a brain drain, where people go to high school here, then they go to college, they start families and jobs and careers in other parts of the state.
I'm sorry, I just lost my track of thought there for a second.
Here.
What I want to say is also for the Barr and Steveno Foundation, we did a bunch of scholarships, and I asked the high school students to write an additional essay about what Calaveras County meant to them. And a lot of the students actually said the minute they get out of high school, they want to go see the world. They want to get out. They want to go work other places. But a large percentage of them wanted to come back to raise their families here. And I think that the best thing that we could do in Calaveras County is prepare it, find the affordable living places for these people to come back and to raise their families in Calaveras, because that's what our community is all about.
And going over to Lisa Mutertes, same question. What do you feel can be done to keep younger residents and families in Calaveras County?
You know what? So my children are all in their 30s. and all of their friends, and many of them did leave, go to college, come back, and now they've started their own businesses. I am so proud of our millennials that are back and they all own their own businesses. I can't even tell you, they've all started tree falling businesses. They've got crane businesses. And I think that, and some of our kids are just union members that are doing traveling and their families are being raised here. Again, when I go back to the affordable housing, we need to find ways for them to own their homes. Many of them have already bought their homes. I'm proud to say that I belong to a charity program and I have helped many of them buy their homes. We do it by giving them their deposit, helping them get established. As long as they live and work in Calaveras County and they stay here for 2 years, that money's free to them. So establishing that and keeping these people in a home, once they're vested here and they have home ownership, they can stay here. All three of my kids are doing quite well. One of them went off into the Marines with his friends. All of them off the football team went together. They've come back in different parts and pieces. Our son is 100% disabled from being in the Marines, but we have others that didn't come home at all that were their best friends. And then my other children both have very, very, very good jobs in the communities. One of my daughters is entitled. So I see our younger generations as doing super well. They're opening businesses. And, you know, our communities, they're watching their parents. Most of their parents owned a business and they're retiring and they're starting to take over their parents' businesses as they come back and they have their college education. I think just working on the homeownership issue is going to allow them to continue to stay here and be a part of our communities.
Well, the next question, and it's two-part, and it is fairly generic, and we're going to stay with Lisa Mutertes. What do you think county government currently is doing right, and are there things that could be improved?
What do I think they're doing right? I think that our county is doing a lot of things right. I think that what we can improve, okay, I got to get this right. So what we're doing right is we have several programs out there. We have our animal control programs. We have our home health services programs. We have a lot of programs that are great in our county. And I think that one of the things that there's several things I want to improve. One thing is cutting the budget 10% across the board. It's not my idea of a good budget. A good budget is looking deep into each department, finding archaic programs, ending those, and funding the ones that are more current and working. Things I want to see improved is our animal control. They're in portables. It's not a good place. I know we've gotten COVID money for infrastructure and that they're looking at working on that. That's a positive. That's a great thing that our county's doing at this time. I think that we need to be looking at our mental health services. I have met with the vice president of Mark Twain Hospital and we went over that. I've talked with Sheriff Rick. We went over all of those things and how the jail is handling that process and how the hospital's handling it. But we have a big loophole. We're missing care in between. And I really feel like we need to get back to taking care of behavioral health, mental health. We're losing one of our other services that was a home that was set up for mental health care and behavioral health. That's closing. So we don't have a lot of services in that department. I think we need to go back, start taking care of that animal control. That is completely not happening correctly and it needs to be worked on. We need to get services going for our elders. Our in-home health service workers are making $15 an hour. Nobody wants that job. We've got to do better. And I think that those are some of the areas that are going to be critical that I want to work on.
And Martin Hubbardy, same question. What do you think county government is currently doing right, and are there things that could be improved?
I think the county government is doing a great job. I enjoy working with them on a daily basis, with our supervisors, with our CAO, and with the Office of Economic Development. With the Visitors Bureau and with the Chamber, we sort of cross paths a lot. I do agree. I think the animal services, as well as the DA's office, need to be reconstructed. I'm actually meeting with animal services this weekend to see the recent condition. I believe that the county really needs to. I think if there's something that we need to look at doing, it's for the affordable housing, and I think that we need to look at the restrictions and the impact fees that the private sector is being held up with, and see if we can't mitigate those and get some more development funds going forward. Otherwise, I find that the county's been incredibly supportive. They understand the value of what we're doing, and I really look forward to getting in there and working with all the rest of the supervisors to continue the growth.
Well, during this next part, we're going to move on to some questions from the community. We allowed anyone to submit questions for consideration, and we're going to ask several of those here, as many as we can. We're going to start with Martin Hubbardy, who's just finished up with this next question. And this question was submitted by John, and he wants to know, his question was, since both of you have held positions either in or close to county government, can you detail any ways that you may have saved the county money?
Here we go. Save the county money. I spend the county's money, and I spend the county's money to make more money for the county. I mean, that's what I do at the Visitors Bureau. I've saved the city money, which I talked about in my opening statement. Again, I think that's my strong point, is actually looking at things from a helicopter view. In my professional career, that's how you come up with solutions. It's looking at the issues, the problems, and then finding different ways of fixing them. And ultimately, moving the CVB in with the museum was not a new idea. It had been kicked around for years. It just took somebody to take that action. And sometimes that's what it takes, is just a fresh idea coming in to put the pieces together in a better way.
Lisa Muterdy, same question. It was submitted by John, who wants to know, since both of you have held positions in or close to county government, can you detail any ways that you may have saved the county money?
I think serving on the Planning Commission and rewriting that general plan was a big issue, because our general plan was 21 years old, and we had to get that current. We lost a huge industry to this county, which was going to bring $20 million a year in taxes, which was the asphalt plant out of Valley Springs. Anytime a project wanted to come to this county, everybody threatened lawsuit because we didn't have an updated general plan. So by being there, getting that general plan updated and passed, now we can bring projects into our county that are viable, bring prevailing wage jobs back to the county with an industry. And that is going to be big going forward. The other thing is that we've identified a whole lot of zonings in that general plan that we can now work on and for to get our affordable housing going. And when I say affordable housing, I'm not talking about low-income housing. We have that, and we have grants for that. What we don't have is workforce housing. So that's the housing I'm talking about. We have a lot of R2, R3 zones that I think are going to help our county move forward in a progressed way. So there's several duplexes in an area. Someone has R3. He wants to build on it right now. He can't because he doesn't have sewer. It's on septic. But so are all those other houses. We need to get those stumbling blocks out of the way so that we can start doing that. And I think that's going to bring a lot of money to this county. It's going to prepare our workforce to live and work here and keep this county stronger. I will say that all the volunteer work that I have done in this county, whether it be through the Resource Connection, whether it be through scholarships programs that we put together, whether it be through working with the charities programs that we have through this area, I have been heavily involved in as much charity as I can, and I think that every time we have a volunteering in our county, we're saving this county money because the volunteers make it happen.
Well, our next question from the community, it was submitted by Barbara, and we'll start first with Lisa Muterty with this one. Barbara wants to know, do you think it is appropriate to remove books from the Calaveras County Library? And she says, by that, I mean censorship.
I don't. You know, a lot of those books that they're wanting to pull out of our libraries are our history. And our history is important to our future. So I don't think we should be pulling our future out and our history out, because the two go together hand in hand in making decisions for our children. It seems like the books that we're wanting to pull are affecting our future going forward in our children and their education, understanding what happened, why it happened, how we have progressed, and why we're a much better people today. Because we've looked at the past, there's some things we don't ever want to repeat, and if we're not paying attention, we're going to go backwards and repeat those mistakes. There's nothing wrong with having everything out there, understanding it, and accepting it. I think we have a far more accepting community based on that. And if we start pulling it out, which we've already done some of that, if we start pulling all of those things out, and then we're adding these new additional things that are swaying opinions, it seems like we're trying to develop the opinions for our children instead of letting them progress naturally. I'm against the censorship.
Martin Hubbardy, again, this question was submitted by Barbara. She wants to know if you think it's appropriate to remove books from the Calaveras County Library, and she says by that I mean censorship.
I don't think it's okay to remove the books. I don't believe in censorship of that kind. I think that you need to leave it up to the professionals. In the county, we have a lot of very educated and smart people who are making the decisions of what books to put in our libraries, and I think that we should take their guidance.
All right, and I'll start this next question with Martin Hubbardy. It was submitted by Jay. He says he runs a business in the county and is concerned about rising crime. His question was, are there things that you feel can be done to better help to protect the businesses and residents of Calaveras County?
Thank you. Again, I go back to Sheriff Rick, I think we do very well in terms of crime. I don't think that, I think he does an amazing job. I think our deputies do an amazing job. I myself have had problems where I live, and they're always right on it. So ultimately, I guess I would say that I think that what's in place right now, I mean, could we use more? Could we use more deputies? Of course. But I think that the job that's being done right now is a fantastic one.
And Lisa Muterty, same question for you. Are there things that can be done to help protect businesses and residents of Calaveras County when it comes to increasing crime?
There are, and I will state, first of all, as supervisor, I will be a strong supporter of our sheriff's department and continuing these programs to get new deputies and putting them through the schools and bringing them back. So as far as what I've watched over the years, because I've been a business owner for over 30 years, and I've seen crime go up and down, and it comes in waves, and there's times it's really bad, and there's times that it's really good. I think we're in a good time right now. Yes, crime still exists. One of the things that we have encouraged, and the sheriff has encouraged over the years with meetings that we've held in the communities, get cameras up, let the sheriff's department have access to some of those cameras in our business communities, because then they can also keep an eye on things that are going on, or if there is an event that occurs, they have access to see when it happened, what time. They're monitoring. The neighborhood watch programs, our volunteer sheriffs are absolutely incredible. If you're having an area that has a problem, the volunteer sheriffs will come in. They will set up a neighborhood watch for you. They'll meet with all your neighbors. They'll teach you how to handle and they'll give you the signs that you need to make sure that the public knows you're a neighborhood watch program. I will tell you that I think that Sheriff DeBasilio is doing a darn good job, because every time we had a sheriff event at our community building, there would be 150 to 200 people there. This last month, when they held an event with the sheriff and the fire department, there wasn't maybe 30 to 40 people in that room, which tells me people aren't having as big of a problem. When there's a big problem, those rooms are filled up. I know Murphy's had one in the park. They had a lot of people show up. They were having some problems. And I think that what the end result was great, because they upped the monitoring with the deputies in those areas. So we just have to keep doing that and working with our sheriff's department, and I'll be a strong promoter of that.
Well, I thank you both for answering all those questions. And I'm going to move on now to the closing comments portion of the program here as a chance to make some final statements or talk about anything that wasn't brought up tonight. We started off with Martin Hubbardy during the opening comments, so we'll start first with Lisa Muterty with closing comments, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I just want everybody to know that I am so vested in this county. I have been here 39 years, full-time, no fail. I've raised my family here. My grandchildren are being raised here. I think that I proved my leadership when I served on the Planning Commission. I chaired that commission for 2 years. I did a very good job. I have a lot of community awards. I have a state legislature award for my service to our community. I know how to run meetings. I know how to work with other supervisors. I know how to work with commissioners and department heads. I have solid relationships with people at our county. I understand policy, and I believe that running a county is going to be a lot of policy, a lot of budget. I have budget experience. I don't believe that there are going to be any issues for me being able to handle being supervisor. I've got a lot of people that asked me to run. I didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to run for supervisor. I was asked by the community to step up. So I'm doing my part. I am going to be 110% committed to being a supervisor. I don't have any other jobs that would interfere with me in this position. I'm a small business owner, so I understand all the needs of our small business owners, not just because I'm there, but because I am in the ownership portion of it. I get the other side, not the government side. And I think it's important to have that policy in place. So I really hope people will look long and hard at the candidates. They will understand that I have experience and proven leadership at the county. There's a lot of bad rumors going out there that are false. And I just want to say to the people, I am an undecided voter, and I'm an undecided voter for a reason and have been for 9 years. I didn't just register in this county to run for office. And the one thing that I want to bring to an end today is that my opponent's supporters have said I belong to QAnon and I now belong to the Highway 4 militia. I want to be very clear. I am neither of those things. I am Lisa Mutertes, longstanding community member, volunteer my time, work in my community, raised my family there. I am committed and vested in this county, and I am here to move us into the future. I don't want to look back. I want to keep moving forward because, like I said, I think we're great, but I always think we can do better, and I believe I'm the person that's going to make it better. I'd like to have everybody's vote. The ballots will be out next week. No reason to wait for June 7th because we're ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Lisa Mutertes, and now Martin Hubbardy with closing comments.
Thank you very much, BJ, and thank you. It's very nice to be interviewed professionally. I really appreciate it. By the time this airs, people will have ballots, and I would like for everybody to vote. By June 7th, it's important. Your vote counts in Calaveras. I have the right temperament for being supervisor. I do find that the two most important parts of the job are, number one, to listen to the constituents, to listen and work with all the agencies and boards that make up our county, and be able to reiterate that information to our constituents, but also look at solutions to all of our issues. Again, we have issues, but we live in a very magical place. And I always say that people who decide to continue to live in Calaveras are have a little bit of that pioneer spirit within them. I am dedicated to Calaveras. I have voted in Calaveras since I purchased the powerhouse, which was almost 20 years ago. And I am a staunch supporter of everything Calaveras. I've enjoyed my time with the Visitors Bureau and with the Chamber, and I look forward to moving forward to a position with as a supervisor. And I ask you for your vote. And I will leave you with the same quote that I used the other night because I think it's hugely important. And I think that it's an old Greek saying, and it ultimately it's something. It goes something like this: that societies become great when older people plant trees, the shade of which they know they'll never sit under. And my forefathers did that for me, and I ask you for your vote so that I can do the same for the next generation.
We thank you both for taking time to share your opinions and answer these questions here today. We want to thank Martin Hubbardy as well as Lisa Mutertes. They are the two candidates for District 3 Calaveras County Supervisor. We need to take a quick break. When we return, we'll hear from the two candidates for Calaveras County Tax Collector and Treasurer, Lehua Mosa and Jennifer Barr. We'll be back in just a moment. We are now in the second portion of Clark Broadcasting's Candidates Forum, featuring the competitive races in Calaveras County. We first heard from the candidates for District 3 Supervisor, and we're now moving over to Calaveras County Tax Collector Treasurer. We're joined by Jennifer Barr and Lehua Mosa. Each candidate will be allowed to make opening statements, followed by questions. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer those questions. I'll give a cue when time is almost up, and in the end, there will be time for closing comments. So we welcome in the two candidates for Tax Collector Treasurer, Jennifer Barr and Lehua Mosa. Thank you both for taking part. We'll start first with opening statements from Jennifer Barr.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm Jennifer Barr. I am running for Treasurer Tax Collector. I have lived in Calaveras County for almost 30 years. I moved here with my husband. We have 2 children that are grown adults, and then I have 2 grandchildren as well. I have 20 years experience working in Calaveras government. I worked for 10 years as the program manager for the Solid Waste Division, and I also worked for 10 years in the Auditor Controller's Office doing the duties of the Property Tax Manager's Office. In that capacity, I calculated tax rates, I apportioned the taxes, I also balanced the property tax accounts with our financial system. I currently am working as a subject matter expert / technical consultant for a global company that implements software for for local county property tax assessor, treasurer tax collector, and auditor's office. I do the implementation on that. I believe my experience, along with my my government experience, along with my private sector experience, will give me a unique combination of qualifications and provide a new perspective to the position.
And we'll now go to opening statements from Lehu Amosa.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Lehu Amosa, and I'm running for Treasurer Tax Collector for Calaveras County. I've dedicated the last 10 years to this office and learning the responsibilities of the day-to-day processes. Started my career on unsecured collections in the department and quickly realized my passion for the local government and serving taxpayers. I believe I'm the best candidate for this position because of my knowledge of the day-to-day functions of the office that goes beyond taxes and goes into treasury functions as well. I was born and raised in Calaveras County. Proud to raise my children here as well. Me and my husband runs a local business, and we understand the importance of keeping things local and embracing just our community. And I love my job and would love to continue.
Well, I thank both of you for the opening statements and for running in this election. I'm going to start now with some questions. Since Jennifer Barr started with opening statements, we'll do the first question with Lehu Amosa. And the question is, first off, can you detail your education and professional experience that specifically makes you a good fit for this position?
Sure. So I did take some accounting classes in conjunction with working full-time. And with that, I learned that on-the-job training is just as important as what you're learning in a classroom. So I've, again, spent the last 10 years working in this department. And I feel that's been very beneficial.
And we'll go over to Jennifer Barr, the same question. Can you detail your education and professional experience that you feel makes you a good fit for this position?
Yeah, I have worked for the county, as I said, for 20 years. I started with the Solid Waste Division of Public Works, where I was involved with the billing of the solid waste fee. I then moved to I worked there for 10 years. After that, I went to the Auditor Controller's Office, did a lot of the property tax functions there. But in addition to that, I also have accounting classes. I do have an associate's degree in criminal justice from a previous life. But I also have, I originally was going to school for a business accounting degree, and so I do have classes through University of Nevada, Reno, also through Delta College. I have public administration, accounting, economics, those type of classes. I believe my experience with the private company that I work for now has given me we've implemented software for Riverside, Inyo, Mendocino. We're working on Sutter, and we're working on Solano now. Having seen all those different counties and their processes and seeing the whole transformation from going from a legacy system to a new system, also I think would lend me a new perspective. As far as the treasury functions go, I understand that the treasurer is the bank for the county and oversees over $200 million in investments and revenue. So I do understand that function. I have not worked directly with it, but I think I would have the experience to handle that. Thank you.
Well, we're going to stay with Jennifer Barr for this next question. Do you have any ideas for how you would improve the Office of Tax Collector?
So the day-to-day processes, I believe, have probably, been there for quite some time, and I wouldn't jump in and make any necessary quick changes. I think it would warrant a review of what's working, what's not working. I do understand that, it's short-staffed. They have a very small staff. I think there's a whole total of 5 people, including the treasurer tax collector and everybody. So I think staffing should be looked at. And just making sure that the staff has the tools and knowledge that they need to carry out their functions.
And same question for Lehua Mosa. Do you have any ideas for how you would improve the office of tax collector?
So being that I'm currently working in the office, over the last 10 years, I've gotten the chance to witness things that have been going on and things that have changed, and there has been adjustments made. Most of that doesn't involve the public per se. A lot of it's internally and how we process things. Moving forward to, getting rid of some of the paper trails that we have and going towards electronic stuff is really what we've been working on over the last 10 years. But other than that, the short staffing issue, luckily I started on the desk that we're short staffed on, so I am able to jump in and help. So I'm currently doing that desk as well as my own right now. And I think that's just been very beneficial. So as far as changes go in the department, I don't see a whole bunch of changes being made because, again, I really think our staff is trained and we have such a good crew in there right now.
We'll stay with Lehua Mosa with this next question. What would you say were the main factors as to why you decided to jump into this race and run?
I love my job. I think that's pretty much, where it started. I've been working underneath Barbara Sullivan as her assistant for the last 6 years and knew when she was ready to retire that I wanted to run. On top of, like I mentioned, enjoying what I do, I really enjoy who I work with. I enjoy seeing the public over the years and you get to create those type of relationships with them to where when you're running into the store to grab some groceries, you see them and you get to talk to them. And again, I really enjoy what I do, and that's why I decided I'd like to run.
And going over to Jennifer Barr with that same question, what were kind of the main factors as to why you decided to run?
I love property taxes ever since I started, back doing the solid waste fee. I have always kind of just felt at home in that and, doing that kind of work. I've also had people approach me that knew I worked for the county or knew I was involved and have approached me and asked me questions and expressed some frustrations over certain issues or which they weren't always, treasurer tax collector office issues, but just that interaction with the public of being able to help them understand something is very rewarding. I currently work from home. So I don't get a lot of social. So getting back out and being part of the public and getting to interact with coworkers and being in an office setting is also another reason I jumped in.
Warren, we have one question that was submitted from the public, and Jay submitted this question, and Jennifer Barr, you'll be the first to answer this one. He wants to know, do you see any unique challenges with collecting marijuana revenue, and how do you address those challenges?
I do see challenges from what I understand. There's not a current system in place, electronic, as Leho said, it's an electronic software type system for the collection of cannabis tax. Also, I actually was told that somebody tried to pay their taxes in advance and it wasn't allowed. So that would be something I would look into as to why not. And the other thing is, I know it's based on the canopy right now, and that would be something that I know it was passed by the voters, but I always, if there's something happened to the crop and you're being taxed on your canopy, and something happens, then we're collecting taxes. Maybe that we shouldn't, but.
And Lehua Mosa, same question, collecting marijuana revenue. Do you see any challenges with this, and how do you address those challenges?
So I've been the one primarily collecting them over the last, since 2021, we went to Measure G, which is based on canopy size. Prior to that, it was weights and measures, so what they were actually producing, and that was broken up into flower and trim, and there was all the details involved in it that they had to submit. But the cultivators chose what square footage they were going to grow, and so that's what it's based on. That's what Measure G is. And as our department, the tax collector's office goes, we collect on what we are told to collect on, which is that square footage price. Yes, we do not have a system currently, and it would be something would be looking into, is getting a software program to actually track and collect it. More so just so that we can have that transparency, because we do get a lot of public record requests looking into how much people are paying and who's not paying. But other than that, that is our function. We cannot collect any taxes that is not due or payable yet, and that's why we can't collect a prepayment. As Jennifer mentioned, somebody had some concerns over that. And the auditor's office is working with Barbara Sullivan to kind of go over the details of it, but basically crossing fiscal years, things have to be tracked differently, and that's why we can only collect up till the quarter that we're currently in, and we do have one payer that has done that. Other than that, no, we are not collecting for the full year. I think things have been going fairly smooth as of 2021 forward.
Well, thank you both for answering all those questions. We're now going to go to the closing statements portion of the event here. And since Jennifer Barr had the first opening statements, we'll start with Lehua Mosa with closing statements. You have up to 3 minutes. I'll give you a cue when time is wrapping up.
Okay. So in closing, I would just like to say I appreciate everybody's time for listening to this and attending any of the meet and greets that are happening around the county. I'm excited for this chapter of my life to begin. I've been preparing for it, as I've mentioned, for the last 10 years and the last 6 years as the assistant treasurer tax collector. And I know that just because somebody likes their job isn't a reason to vote them in. However, I really do enjoy what I do. I love working with who I work with. I love working for the public. We don't always get the happiest people that call, but I feel like we have had no complaints with our office, with our, answering questions or ability to go above and beyond, and I'm very proud of that. And other than that, I think it's very important for people to realize that the treasurer themselves do control so much of the money that comes into our county. Out of the $2 million in our financial portfolio, 60% of that's schools, and I think that's important to keep in mind, that whoever is in there and doing the job is familiar with how things run and, also the investments.
Thank you. And Jennifer Barr, closing comments.
I thank you. Lehua is correct. The treasurer portion of the job is very important. There is also an investment company that is used to help track all of the investments and make those decisions, as well as an oversight board that is involved. I am definitely feeling the underdog here. It's easy to say, it's easy for somebody who's worked in the office. They know the day-to-day, they know the office, they know the procedures, they know the people. Coming in from the outside, however, I believe I could provide, again, my a new perspective, some guidance into certain insights as far as processes, having seen other counties. I lived here, like I said, I still live here for over 30 years, and I plan to continue to live here. And I feel my experience and qualifications will help me do a good job.
Well, thank you both for joining us here during this segment. Those were the candidates for tax collector and treasurer, Lehua Mosa and Jennifer Barr. Earlier, we heard from Lisa Mutertes and Martin Hubbardy, the candidates for District 3 Supervisor as well. I'm BJ Hansen. I was your host, hoping whoever you support, you will vote during the June 7th primary. We thank you for joining us today, and good night.